Where are you, Doug?
Ocala, Florida.
Not a bad place to be.
No.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of Kincardine at 5 o'clock on November 22nd, 2023 in the council chambers at the Municipal Administration Center. We'll begin with roll call. Deputy Mayor Clark.
Present.
Councillor Blackwell.
Present.
Councillor Kavanagh.
Present.
Councillor Hinchberger.
Present.
Councillor Kennedy.
Present.
Councillor Prenger. Councillor Steinhoff Gray.
Present.
Councillor Stewart.
Present.
I'd like to acknowledge our staff that's here and a number of members of the public in the gallery. Councillor Kavanagh, please.
Thank you very much. It is only fitting that we begin this meeting by acknowledging that we are gathering on the traditional lands and treaty territory of the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, which includes the Chippewa of Nawash Unceded First Nation and the Chippewa of Saugeen First Nation, whose ancestors were the first to inhabit and care for and live on this land. We recognize and deeply appreciate the contributions that Indigenous people have made, both in caring for these lands and in shaping and strengthening this community. As a public service organization, we are dedicated to learning and acknowledging Indigenous history and culture and are committed to actions that move us towards a journey of truth, healing, and reconciliation.
Thank you for that, Councillor. Are there any amendments, additions, or deletions to or from the agenda? Councillor Kennedy, please.
Yes, just with our recreation survey, I'm a little worried that we haven't left it up there for a good enough time to get over 1,000 people point of view. It's got some really good information there, but I believe even if we have to put the report back a month, that it'd be worthwhile to leave that survey.
Councillor Kennedy, just what is the issue you would like to add? We'll get into the discussion when we get there, but if you could just highlight the issue that you would like to speak to, or a motion or something like that.
Sure. Sorry about that. Through the chair, I'd like to see the survey extended till the end of the year, please.
So that'll be a comment. There'll be an agenda item regarding. Would you like? I bet you'd like to make that a motion, wouldn't you, to add that to the agenda?
Yes, please. Yes. Sorry about the short notice, but I just, yeah.
Is there a seconder for that motion to add recreation survey to the agenda? It's Councillor Blackwell. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Any other additions or deletions? Yes, Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, I would like to, I was over at Birchwood again, driving around, talking to some of the public. I would like a quick update on what's happening, because I noticed there's no activity.
I bet you'd like to make that a motion to add.
I would like to make a motion to have an update, the public walkway between 207 and 209, please. Thank you.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Steinhoff Gray, is there any discussion? All in favor? And that is carried. Any other additions or deletions? Okay, once again, I'd remind any council members to disclose any pecuniary interest in the general nature thereof, either now or as it arises through the council meeting. We begin with adoption of minutes from our regular and special meeting of council. Need a mover and seconder that the minutes of the council meeting held November 8, 2023 be adopted as printed. Moved by Councillors Hinchberger and Stewart. Any discussion? All in favor? It's carried. There was no unfinished business from last meeting? Okay. All right. This evening we have 4 delegations at the behest of the clerk, because she can do that sort of thing. We have 4 delegations this evening. Welcome to each and every one of you. We begin with our Accessibility Advisory Committee. Sharon Woods, who's the chair, please come to the microphone. And I would caution you, Ms. Bowman, do we have the timer on the screen this evening? You do. So because there are 4 delegations, which extends our council meeting some, I would remind you that we will be kind of holding a little bit firmer to the time frame. Ms. Woods, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you for having us. So I'll move on to our first slide. Oh, is this working? This isn't working. There we go. Oh, sorry. Maybe you should have the clicker, Scott. All right. So I'll begin by thanking you for having us this evening. I would like to start with sharing that part of that's blocking the screen there, that those that sit on the Municipality of Kincardine Advisory Committee, also known as the AAC. My name is Sharon Woods. I'm the chair. And some of the other members of the committee are Deputy Mayor Andrea Clark, Scott McPherson, the vice chair, who's beside me, Josh Easton, Craig Roomy, Bruce Edwards, Miranda Graham, and Tracy Guy is our staff resource. So the purpose of our delegation tonight is to, 1, thank council on the endorsement of the City of London FADs. We'd like to thank council for endorsing the accessible facility audit for the Davidson Center. We'd like to discuss the multi-year accessibility plan, catalog of issues for budget planning, and present the AAC Accessibility 2024 budget priorities. So we'd like to thank council for their endorsement and ongoing support to use the City of London FADs as the Municipality of Kincardines FADs. This is a comprehensive, well-researched document to be used when renovating or building new municipal facilities. The FADs gives council, municipal staff, and the AAC clear direction to make municipal facilities accessible. Another big thank you to council for your support to have a facility audit completed at the Davidson Center. On July 12th of this year, Julie Sawchuk from Sawchuk Accessibility Solutions performed a facility audit at the Davidson Center, and the AAC has recommended that her findings be added to the multi-year accessibility plan catalog of issues. So there's Julie Sawchuk there, who came and did the audit. The multi-year accessibility plan catalog of issues. As a requirement in the AODA, the previous committee presented the multi-year accessibility plan and the catalog of issues, which was passed by council in January 2023. The AAC will be working on updating the document over the next year. We would like staff and council to have the catalog of issues on their radar when preparing budgets and developing plans for municipal facilities, and work towards removing some of the barriers noted in the catalog of issues. So priority number 1 is the Penetango room at the Davidson Center. It's a very busy community building, and it's very important that we provide an accessible meeting space for groups of all abilities can meet, use the kitchen as well as the washroom. The current kitchen and washroom are not accessible to persons with disabilities. There's some pictures there. The doorways. So these are all the budget priorities. Number 2, we'd like council to invest $100,000 in the 2024 municipal budget and subsequent budgets moving forward to go towards accessible projects in municipal facilities. The budget funds can be used in conjunction with staff and the AAC to address operational items found in the catalog of issues, as well as other projects included in capital projects that require additional funds to make a project accessible. And then there's some of the examples there, because I'm running out of time. Do I? Okay.
You have another 45 seconds. at
Okay,
least, you're able
I'm trying to go
slow.
as fast as I can. So we'd like to have the upgrade of washrooms and change rooms to meet fads. Doorway widths and handles be updated to meet fads. Consistent accessible signage in all municipal facilities. Oversized garbage cans that impede accessible paths of travel be replaced. Upgrade of accessible parking spaces and upgrade of crosswalks. So an assessment of all of the accessible parking spaces have been completed by our committee. It was determined that many accessible spots need upgrades to meet accessibility and the fads. The committee feels that these spots should be brought up to standard as soon as practicable to ensure that the spots meet the needs of the public. So as you can see, they are clearly in need of repair. We also feel that it's very important for all crosswalks in the municipality be upgraded to meet the fads. Safety of all pedestrians, especially those with varying abilities, is important. There we go. So there's the, oh, sorry. No, I don't know where we're going now. I can't seem to get this to work. Keep going. Are you running that? Can't get it to go.
There we go.
Okay. So in conclusion, the Municipality of Kincardin's Accessibility Advisory Committee is the voice of accessibility for our municipality, and we advocate for those who could not. Our goal is to advise municipal council and staff to remove barriers in the municipality of Kincardine. We look forward to the future and providing comments to make our municipality barrier-free for all. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Sharon. Are there any questions for clarification for Ms. Woods? Councillor Hinchberger, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Thank you for coming tonight. As I look towards evaluating all these things in the 2024 budget, I do have a question about the 4 priorities. The $100,000 that was in there, is that the estimate of what it would take to complete and address the Penetangor room, kitchen and washroom, plus the sidewalks and crosswalks? Or is that something to be considered over and above those 3?
Want to talk about that?
We could look into that, Mike. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, we could look into that. We really don't have, other than the issues that were mentioned on there, washrooms, accessibility and things like that, was what we were considering. And I think it's extensive enough that it would eat up a good chunk of the $100,000. But once we get down and they're sitting down and looking at the facilities, because we've not yet done that. We have the issues that have been prioritized. And once we get sitting down and looking at the facilities, then we could better understand whether there'd be money left over for the Penetangor room. Yes, thank you. That in the crosswalks. But it would not, in my experience, there's no way that it would be able to afford an accessible washroom in the Davison Center in and around the Penetangor room. That would something that would have to be a capital issue.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you. Through you. I very rarely go in the Davidson Center. I apologize. Good presentation, but I think I've been in there once this year. Is there other rooms in that Davidson Center that have accessible washrooms? So there's no other sort of meeting rooms downstairs and there. I know there's a few rooms downstairs. So there's no accessible washrooms in any of the rooms.
There is accessible washrooms in the new part, the seniors facilities is what I would call it, over in the new side. But other than that, that would be the only place that there's any accessible washrooms to speak of.
Okay, well, thank you. I know it's an old building and it probably should be removed, but thank you.
I wouldn't agree with removing it. Okay, that's your opinion.
Okay. Good, good, good. We're leaping way ahead of our budget talks here, so. Sharon, Scott, thank you so much for being with us this evening. We appreciate your contribution to the municipality through the Accessibility Advisory Committee. Thanks very much.
Thank you for having us.
Next, I'd like to invite Dave LaFortune and Brad Kirkconnell from the Kincardine Trails Network to come forward for their delegation. Yep.
Good evening, council. Thanks for your time tonight, your worship. Deputy Mayor, councillors, staff, and press, better known as Liz. We're here tonight to talk about ash trees. I've been with the Kincardine Trails from the get-go in 2001 and have been chairing that position ever since. I've decided to take a step back from that, a wee step back anyways. And we've had this gentleman, Dave LaFortune, step up and starting to take on the job and do a bit of mentoring with him. And I found that he's quick on the uptake. I won't take any more of his valuable time speaking. So please welcome Dave LaFortune.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Brad, for the introduction and for leading the Trails organization for over the last 2 decades. Ladies and gentlemen, most of you will know that Kincardine wouldn't have the trail system that we have today without the work that Brad's done. And we wouldn't have the group of energetic trail volunteers that we have today without his leadership over the years. So thank you, Brad. Good. Purpose of today's agenda item is to share some information with council relating to the risk of falling trees along our trails. This is currently the greatest safety risk by far associated with our trail system. This information is intended to support future decisions that you will need to make regarding the budgeting and timing of tree removal work, as well as the level of monitoring and oversight that council deems appropriate for this work. If I could have the next slide, please. Thank you. The assessment that you have was done 2 years ago by a professional arborist. It identified just under 900 hazardous trees and recommended felling priority for those trees. The number of trees today is certainly higher, given that more have died in the last 2 years, and given that the assessment sampled 75, not 100% of our trail system. The arborist noted a high level of urgency at the time and indicated that this urgency would continue to rise as dead and dying trees become increasingly unstable over time. All dead trees eventually fall. Dead ash typically come down either in pieces by dropping heavy branches from the canopy or all at once by suddenly releasing at the base because of root failure. What a falling tree lands on and the harm it does is largely a matter of chance. A falling tree may do no harm at all, or it might land on a trail and require some level of cleanup. It might bring down power lines, which we do have along some of our trails. It might damage property of a landowner that allows us to use some of their property. Worst case, it might land on a person with potentially tragic results. Plus, it's not difficult to imagine that an event that causes serious harm to an individual may also involve other things: legal liability, impact on municipal reputation, tourism, and so forth, all extremely negative. Our volunteers regularly clear downed trees from our trails, so hazard exists. Trail use continues to be fairly high, so exposure to the hazard exists. Trees are falling where people walk. So to summarize, this is the most significant safety risk by far to those using our trails and also to those who maintain our trails, which includes our group of trail volunteers who work in partnership with municipal staff. And Brad and I wanted to alert council to this issue, get it on your radar, and to highlight information that will help inform decisions that you're going to be called upon to make going forward regarding the removal of hazardous trees from our trails. So thank you for your time. And if there are questions, I'm good for the easy ones and Brad can deal with the hard ones.
Thank you for that report. Council did receive quite an extensive report regarding the proximity to trails, the number of trees, the urgency with which the arborist recommended that they be addressed. So that is very helpful and informing the decision-making process. Councillor Stanoff Gray, you have a question?
Thank you, through you, Chair. First, I would really like to extend my personal thanks to Brad and Dave and all the volunteers that are working on this. I'm curious because this report came out in 2021. So I'm assuming this was presented to the 2021 council?
I believe-
Council, when would council have received this report?
I don't know that council had seen it before. I know that the Public Works had seen it
No.
in 2021.
Public Works? Okay.
Just a minute, will Director, would you have some accurate timing about when and how the municipality received this report, please?
Yes, thank you. And through you, one of my first meetings with the municipality was with the Trails Group and with Brad, and we talked about the need to have an assessment done. And Brad worked diligently in getting an assessment done, and it was, I believe it was the end of 2021 during the Christmas break when we received it. And obviously at that point, we were almost through budget at that point. It was an election year as well. And so it's been tabled, and we thought that it was most appropriate to bring it forward at this time. And I can provide a little bit more background too. The report has been shared with SVCA. Been working closely with Donna Lacey at SVCA, who I've worked with before on previous projects with removing ash trees, and looking forward to potentially working with SVCA through this process, if approved through budget, if approved with council through the budget deliberations.
Councillor, did you have a follow-up on that?
Yeah, we haven't seen this.
Okay. No, actually that I was going to ask what we had done since 2021, finding this information out, but it sounds like we're just at the point of actioning it. So I'm just going to look for it in the budget. At least I understand the context from which it's coming through. And then just a question of curiosity back to the group, Dave and Brad. This is obviously from 2021. Like, do you have a gut feel of how much worse the problem is? How many of those trees have already come down on their own? Like, I'm just curious if you have a gut instinct of where we sit now, if we were at 900 before.
Certainly well over 1,000 would be a reasonable estimate now. And we are clearing about a tree a week, give or take, in the last 2 months. If you want an indication of.
Councillor Pranger, please.
Oh, sorry. I was already on. I apologize. Through you, Chair. I wanted to thank you for the presentation. I was thrilled to see this on the agenda. I have actually brought up this issue with staff a couple times, and so it was nice to see us talking about it. And I was not aware of that report, so until I saw your presentation. So it's nice to understand that there's action had been taking, and hopefully we can take more on this issue. There are many. I bet it's probably even more than 1,000. There are many trees that I can guarantee are not accounted for, and I see them all over the place, and they are an extreme safety hazard. So I hope that we can take action and very soon. Thank you.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. Thank you very much, David and Brad. I see just under tree category, all costs are with material and trees left on site. Unfortunately, you know, being a board member of Saugeen Valley, we actually capture some of the value for lumber. But I guess with these trails and everything, there is no opportunity to turn these trees into lumber.
Do you want it to?
Very little, because of the trails being in the ravines, the majority of just accessibility into them. There may be some opportunity with the trails out behind the Davidson Center. There's a 100-meter stretch there where there's 100 ash trees along that trail. So if that becomes accessible, there might be some opportunity there. But if Jane is engaging Donna Lacey, Perhaps she would have some information there. And we're also cognizant of the fact that we don't want any of the trail beds really disturbed to the point that it takes more budget money to fix them up.
I agree. You don't want skidders on the trails. I agree.
Right. Thank you. Through you, Chair. I think I'm allowed to ask the question. I'm just curious if there's a time frame that makes more sense for this work to happen. Like, is there a time frame that we're targeting? So, like, based on that, like, I'm just curious if we'd have to ask for a pre-budget approval or if this is something that can just stay the course. I'm just curious what the timing is of when it's best to remove the trees.
Jane, I will direct that to you because you would be give a more informed answer at this point.
Thank you. And through you, really, I take the lead of SVCA. You know, we take a look at Stony Island. They wanted to do that in August and we had a wet August. So it's really dependent on weather as well. But as I said, I would take the lead from SVCA and work closely with them.
These are just delegations. Hello, Councillor Stewart.
Thank you. Just to correct that, because I just wanted to correct it. Stony Island was because we're putting skidders on the ground. When you're just taking down a tree, you don't really worry about wet anything. It's just going to drop it and that's it. So it could be done 12 months of the year. Thank you.
We'll likely follow the lead of our Director of Community Services in Saugeen Valley. So we appreciate your leaders. And Ms. Lacey at Saugeen Valley. Councillor Pranger, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I would echo what Councillor Stewart has said, and I wouldn't be surprised if Ms. Lacey said something very similar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dave, Brad, thank you for being here this evening. We appreciate your contribution to the municipality as well and providing guidance and support in our trail network. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, I would like to invite Chandra Tripathi and Priya Pandya to come up to the microphone for their presentation regarding the Hindu Dharma. Welcome, Mr. Tripathi, and there's a little backstory here in that his wife reminded him there was 5 minutes, and Nicole Bowman reminded him there's 5 minutes, and he reminded me his middle name was Mike, so he didn't need one if we turned it off anyway. So good evening, Chandra. Thank you for being here to celebrate with us. So where you go, sir.
Time start now. Honorable Mayor, esteemed council member, respected community members, staff, guests, and my friends here. Namaste and warm greeting to each of you on this special occasion of Diwali and Hindu Heritage Month. This is supposed to be celebrating from 2016. So it's good. Thank you that we are doing this now in 2023. We express our sincere gratitude.
The closer you stand, Chandra, the closer you speak to the mic, the better that the people out in TV land will hear you too as well. Thank you, sir.
But that doesn't count for time. Okay, thank you. We express our sincere gratitude for your embraced diversity and allowing us to say our culture. Diwali, representing the triumph of good over evil, guide us towards the self-awareness, hope, and purpose. As we say Namaste, that means I honor the place in you where you and I are the same. So that is the Namaste, as the kids are saying. So under the umbrella of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that is the key of the Hindu philosophy or the Sanatana Dharma. That means the whole world is one family, one soul, one family, one world. And that is truly needed these days. So I really appreciate that you have given us opportunity to celebrate Diwali. Please don't forget to eat some of the sweets my wife and many other ladies has prepared nicely. Our purpose here is to say twofold. One is the education, which is important. Usually it's ignorance or not knowing the other people, then it creates. So we have to break the boundary. We did that. We thought that we come here and educate our leaders about our culture. So I've given 40 slides there. I'm talking here in the 5 minutes, but please have a time because we belong to this community. We are here for 25 years. This is our place. We are all here for many years and many years to go and live. So we are here as the integral part of this community. Before we discuss our call for actions, that is where I wanted to point out my 3 minutes. I just want to say, and let's recognize some of the remarkable contribution of Hindu globally, as around 1.3 billion in the world, be it in philosophy, yoga, meditation, peace, nonviolence, advancement in science, technology, IT, and the presence in medicine and space exploration. So this is the the peaceful things. And now let's explore how together we can further integrate and strengthen our community where we belong. So I will just go directly. So that is the one thing I just want to bring to your attention about some of the symbols that. So basically, this swastika symbol, it's very auspicious for Hindus, but it is not considered good, and we just have to educate sometimes ourselves, and we have to know this difference. And we there is a proposal going on. I think in the US they have, and Australia they have recognized that, and the bill has been passed. And there is some discussion happening in Canada too. So I'm not saying that whatever it is, but it is very auspicious for us, and it is 4,000 years ago since that we have been using that. So what basically this is a call for action. I just want to say that to strengthen our community, we have to advocate and include in our education and training part that include the OPP, emergency people, municipalities to integrate Hindu culture. I'm just saying that this is just not on the Hindu culture, the other culture as well, but we belong to Hindu culture. And let's say that we have already integrated Kincardine, municipality of Kincardine, part of this. So we are here. This is our municipality. You can see this, the board, we made it municipality of Kincardine. We have moved one path that side. The second thing is the community engagement. It's important. Like here, you have given us permission to call the local leaders, share the insights, and present the Hindu culture, fostering the understanding. Heritage Month. There are several Heritage Months. As I said, Ontario has adopted in 2016. Canada has also created, but it is not known to us. So therefore, we are here just to educate about that this is a Hindu, and maybe the next time we will ask what we are doing for that, how we are educating our people, young. The culture exchange and active participation, encourage the active participation in Hindu Heritage Month, like Honorable Mayor, that you have attended our Diwali function. And we really invite, it's all free, that everyone can come for food. Food is the one that connect us. The samosas, like in Multicultural Day, 1,000 samosas. Hindu Open House, we have 500 samosas are gone. And that's important. Interfaith dialogue and events. That's another thing I'm working with many other communities. I know only 30 seconds I will take. That's one thing which I wanted to do. Address the misconception, anti-bullying. In embracing these initiatives, we can create a more inclusive, informed, and harmonious community where the people from all backgrounds can live happily and contribute to the betterment of our community and environment. Our community and I are always there to support here, to the council in any way. Wishing you all joyous Diwali and month enriched with vibrancy of Hindu heritage. Thank you very much once again, and namaste.
Chandra, thank you very much for that presentation. Now, I'm not going to tell council about the treats that you brought that are in the entryway, because our council meeting would descend into chaos and there would be no one left. But there are some excellent opportunities to share in the food that connects us all. Does council have any questions for Chandra before they're done their presentation? Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, it's not so much a question, but I was going to share that and I hope I get this, if I say this right, I'm not great with pronunciations, but my son's class worked on the Rangoli.
Rangoli, yeah.
Rangoli. Yeah, so he brought one of those home, really, really proud to tell me all about Diwali and about, you know, different celebrations. So I think that's just really exciting to see that it's happening in kindergarten classes all the way up. And then I also was just going to say, I know that our strategic initiatives department has been working really hard on a comprehensive days of significance calendar. So if there are, I'm sure you have a strong connection, but if there's other things that you would like perhaps to be recognized, I think that's a great opportunity for us to do so.
I'm working with Blue Water District School Board. Last week, I have a meeting with 2 superintendent and director, and I'm working with them. So, thanks.
Councillor Prenger, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. At the risk of sounding very ignorant about your culture, and I admit it, I basically am, so I apologize, but you spoke about the Hindu greeting at the beginning, namaste. Is it polite or impolite for a non-Hindu to participate in greeting that way with namaste, or is that accepted or no?
One thing we wanted to say, Hindu or Sanatan Dharma is all inclusive. It is for all.
Yeah.
There's nothing exclude in anything, because the prayer is for all, and we believe there is only one God, and everyone is included, not only in Namaste, but anything. Our overarching principle is the Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That means the whole world is one family. There's a one soul, there is a one Brahman, there's a one family, there's a one earth, there is a one word. That is what our belief is.
Well done.
And I wanted to bring that kind of concept in overall, like in Kincardine. There's one community here.
Great, thank you. I want you to know that is the message I received from your presentation. I wanted to make sure that I understood.
Thank you for asking, and because that doesn't count for time. Oh, I'm just kidding, my friend Craig. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Chandra, thank you very much for coming to share Hindu culture with us this evening. We do appreciate it, and Chandra and your community active participants in Kincardines Multicultural Day as well too. So we appreciate that contribution as well.
Thank you very much for
right.
having me, and thank you. And if you like, we can leave samosas here. So. Okay, really.
Okay, so I'd like to invite Jim McTeer from the Tiverton and District Lions Club to come forward for the update on the fundraising for the Tiverton Splash Pad. Jim, glad you're here this evening.
Thank you very much for having me. The presentation I'm going to give you is basically 2 pieces. The first part is just a refresher of what I told you in the spring when I was here to kickstart the project. And the last part is where I am today. So 2023 is the 50th anniversary for Tiverton District Lions Club. The Splash Pad project is meant to mark that 50 years to the community. You don't have the presentation up on the screen there, but my presentation had a picture of where the proposed splash pad was to be.
Apparently our tech staff was not given, did not receive a presentation from yourself. Nicole is looking for it. Just carry on, and if we get it, we will have a look at the pictures as well. Okay?
Also there was a drawing of what was proposed from the quote that I had. We looked at 3 different designs provided for me by ABC Recreation, and they gave estimates for the 3 of them. One was straight water in, water out. The other one had a 2,000-gallon holding tank that would collect some water that could be used by the municipality for watering flowers, irrigation, whatever they wanted to do. And the other one was the cream of the crop, which was purification system. It reused the water, purified it. And I chose the middle one, which was the 2,000-gallon holding tank. The cost that I was given for it was $257,978, and that is an early 2022 estimate. So be considered probably a lot more expensive now. The proposed budget I came with in the spring was 300,000. That was to allow for increases, and that was splash pad only, didn't include anything else. I revised that a little bit when I started thinking about the landscaping that would have to be done and all the other amenities around it. So I revised that budget to 400,000. Current plan was to spend 2023 doing fundraising and be able to construct in 2024. We assembled a donor recognition program as a way of showing our appreciation to all those that donated to the project. Some things that would be required prior to the start of construction would require the municipality to provide service hookups to the site. That would include the water, sewer, electricity, whatever. The contractor that builds a splash pad would then hook into those terminal points, recognizing that the municipality doesn't want anybody, just anybody hooking into their systems. We had hoped at the time to pursue a cost sharing arrangement with the municipality, since the municipality was going to benefit from having the holding tanks. I threw that out there in the spring, and I'm always interested in investigating other ways of offsetting the construction costs. One of the ABC Recreation representative told me that they often do things in cost sharing. He told me that, for example, the splash pad that was built in Paisley, the contractor that was hired to do the excavation and all that said at the end he wanted to do the landscaping, so he did that at no cost. I may be lucky enough to get that, I may not be lucky enough to get that, but it's something that I want to pursue. So we now have a sign erected at the location, proposed location for the splash pad, which is beside the playground in Tiverton. My presentation that I sent had a nice picture of it, showed a couple of the donors on it. There are now 3 donors listed on it. And I'd like to share with you the fact that as of the end of the month, we were sitting just shy of $300,000 raised and pledged, 297 and change to be exact. This has surpassed my original estimate. And since I really don't have a good handle on what the final figure would be, I would like to work towards getting a tender issued for the splash pad part itself. I can't put out an estimate for the landscaping because I don't know what the end size would be till I get the original thing in a contract. So I would like the landscape tender to go after the fact, and I will continue the fundraising for that. So that's basically where I am today. I'm looking at trying to get a contract, because if we don't have a contract soonly, we'll run the risk of maybe not being able to construct in 2024 at all, because contractors will soon become busy. Parts may not be available, things like that. So that's where I am today.
Jim, thank you very much for your presentation. Questions from any council members? Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you. And through you, I just want to acknowledge I am a Tiverton Lion also. So Jim and I know each other quite well. I just wanted to say this is remarkable in a community this size to also raise $300,000 towards a splash pad that originally was going to cost $300,000. This is the fastest donation program I've ever seen in this community over the years. So I'm hoping that the staff is going to bring this forward in the budget, and we're going to start to lay the ground to build a splash pad in Tiverton. But we'll have to wait until we see the budget, Jim. But a good presentation, and thank you.
Jim, thank you very much for your presentation. You have piqued our interest. And once again, through you and through Councillor Stewart, who is the president of the Tiverton Lions, thank you for the work that you do building our community, particularly in the north end of the municipality. So thank you very much. Appreciate you being here.
I'll just remind you, if you have any questions, I'm only a phone call away. Thank you.
All right, moving on to number 7, matters for discussion and direction. We have the proposal for the strategic ad hoc committee. And we need a mover and seconder that council pass a bylaw to approve the terms of reference for the strategic plan ad hoc committee as presented. And further, that council appoint 3 council members to the ad hoc committee who will be determined as part of the conversation. I need a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Deputy Mayor Clark and seconded by Councillor Blackwell. Manager Fiozzi, welcome. Would you like to comment on this, please?
Sure, through you, Mayor Craig. So currently we have an integrated strategy which brings together the key priorities from our primary and our comprehensive plans, and you've all received a copy of that. The integrated strategy really brings all of our kind of key priorities from all of those plans together into one document. And you'll see on the agenda, not that I'm going to talk about that right now, but there is a progress report on all of the actions in the integrated strategy. And why I mention that is the integrated strategy takes us to the end of December 2024. And so we're just trying to get prepared to develop council's strategic plan for 2025, and which is why we're proposing the ad hoc committee to be formed that would provide the overall direction and some advice to staff around the process for the strategic plan. So not approving the strategic plan, that obviously is council's decision, but the ad hoc committee would help us with things like the timelines, the environmental scan, how far we go with certain pieces, what we currently have, to assess against that, the public engagement process, giving us some advice around that, and really providing advice to staff to help us develop the process for the strategic plan. All with the goal to have the plan developed for November 2024. So that way then you have it for the next budget deliberations. The proposed terms of reference was attached with the report. And should council approve this ad hoc terms of reference, then we are asking for council to appoint 3 members of council to participate in this ad hoc group. Thank you.
CAO.
Thank you. Sorry to interject in there. Through you, Mayor. On reflection, one of the items that we felt as a senior leadership team, we thought perhaps we should have been clear in the recommendation that we were hoping to see the mayor and the deputy mayor as 2 of the 3 members. Given the leadership position, we thought that would be an important piece, especially because it is the strategic plan that guides the municipality, hopefully for many years, and that's the vision. So I just wanted to provide that as a suggestion and recommendation.
So I'm going to interject with a question just for some clarity, if you would, please, Manager. You commented that we have the integrated strategy, we've got master plans, and we've got this, and the integrated strategy was the work that staff did to pull all those various master plans together into a comprehensive but narrower focus. What you're asking the creation of this ad hoc committee is to plan the strategic plan, which will be implemented in 2024 or implemented in 2025?
Through you, Mayor. So the plan would be that the group would help us identify the process to plan, not the actual plan, but how we get there to develop the plan. And that would be hopefully developed by the end of November. So it coincides with the budget process for next year.
So the strategic plan would be, the strategic plan would be developed early in 2025 then for a period of 2 or 3 years, whatever that would be.
So and again, this is part of what we would talk about through the planning process. What's the timeline? What do we want a 5-year plan? Do we want a 10-year plan? All of those pieces would be part of what the committee would help us provide advice around.
Very good. Any further questions? Councillor Steinhoff-Gray, you had a question, please.
Through you, Chair. I was actually curious, and I'm more curious than I was before based on our CAO's comments, why it would be limited to 3. Personally, me, I would feel if we're going to have the deputy mayor and the mayor automatically put on, I'd want to see it extended to 4. So there is at least 2 other members of the general council on it. End of comment.
Were you looking for an answer or was that just a comment? What?
Well, I guess I would like it firmed up before I approve it. So yes, please.
Well, at this point, the recommendation is that council appoint 3 members. If you would like to amend that, then we would, based on discussion before we get there, just to like you have opportunity to amend or craft this motion as you would see fit to.
I think the concern I have is if there's a friendly amendment based on what the CAO wants, that would change where I was on the 3 count. So I guess I have to put a motion on the table in order to have a discussion about it. But I'm curious what other people feel about the composition. Mike has his hand up. I'll wait and see what happens.
Councillor Hinchberger, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you to you, Mayor. So I just want to hear it one more time. This really isn't to develop the plan itself. It's to develop the process that will be used to develop the plan, correct?
Through you, Mayor. So the ad hoc committee would help inform the process to develop the plan, but that would be meeting throughout the whole process and seeing how the process is going. So the goal is to have a plan, and so the committee as well as council would see the milestones and see what's happening as we go along. We're planning the plan.
But so it's both the process, the deliverables are both a process, and then to use the process to develop a plan to be brought to council.
Correct.
Okay.
And we would bring updates to council along the way. This ad hoc committee would bring those updates
Thank you.
throughout the year.
Councillor Stewart?
I'll make a friendly motion to increase the membership of this ad hoc committee from the council to 4. Thank you.
So there's a friendly amendment been proposed. Is there a seconder to that? Councillor Steinhoff Gray, is there any discussion regarding the amendment? Councillor Hinchberger?
Thank you to you, Mayor. It's probably the obvious one. When you get to an even number, you're kind of inherently adding the higher probability of that sort of thing in there. And in this case, it's just my experience with the previous committee. I'm glad to see it supported being above 3, because there are challenges sometimes with a committee of 3 meeting quorum. It inhibits any type of discussion between 2 members of the committee. Not in it is enclosed, is not allowed. So I think that there's, for something this important, there has to be enough people where there can be some discussion between individual members, not necessarily in a meeting to facilitate the whole process. Thanks.
So with 4 members, you would need 3 members for a quorum and not just 2. That's, you know, there's some logistical issues with that as well, so. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Kennedy, please.
Yeah, sorry, through the chair, yeah, I'd like to see it at 5, but I guess that's up to the amendment, because I'm sure there's lots of us interested in going on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kennedy. The challenge, I think I heard you suggest 5, not an appropriate number, because that means the committee can swing council. So like there's the other 4 people needn't even vote on it because the 5 will have already decided the issue, and that's 3 is recommended, 4 has been amended, proposal 5 is procedurally incorrect. So thank you for the offer though. Anyway, so we have an amendment on the floor that the council appoint 4 members to the ad hoc committee. Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And that was carried. All right, so there's a motion on the floor that council pass the bylaw to approve the terms of reference as presented, and further that we appoint 4 council members to the ad hoc committee. Are there any committee members that would offer their name to stand for planning the strategic plan process? I, for one, would appreciate the opportunity to sit on this committee. Deputy Mayor, you heard your your name being offered by the CAO. Is this a committee that you would offer to sit on, or would you choose a different sort of responsibility?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I would offer to sit on it if it's deemed acceptable by council.
Councillor Kennedy, please.
Yes, I'd like to throw my name in to sit on this committee, please. Thank you.
Anyone else that would like to offer? Councillor Steinhoff Gray. Any other council members that would like to? Councillor Blackwell. Any other council members that would like to? There's 5 people that have offered already.
Okay, no,
Okay, so procedurally speaking, comment, yes, Councillor.
Based on the composition though, currently of the committee, I'm the only one who works full-time through the day. So the question that I would ask, well, sorry, you work full-time through the day, but you can control your hours. I cannot. I am a set time calendar and it's very difficult for me to maneuver. So, I guess the question that I have, and I feel silly because when you have court doesn't move around you. I apologize, Andrea. But where I'm going with this is if the expectation, Lori, is that it has to be met through the day, then I would revoke myself from it. But if we're able to accommodate after 4 p.m., then I would like to stay in it. So I just want to clarify. Sorry.
Any recommendations, Manager?
Through you, Mayor, it would be up to the committee to decide the time of meeting.
Councillor Blackwell?
I was just going to ask that Amanda, perhaps Councillor Steinhoff Gray, perhaps not rush to revoke her suggestion, because otherwise it would have 2 Ward 1 councillors potentially who have put their name forward. And I think that we need a broader composition. So.
So the procedure that we have used in past, we'll go with the names of the members who've offered, and it's just a straight majority, yes or no. So you put my name as the first. We'll do this for practice. If you believe that I'm an appropriate person to put on the committee, indicate by raising your hand. Anyone opposed? So I'm on the committee. Deputy Mayor Clark. Councillor Kennedy. That's a yes. Councillor Steinhoff Gray. We have our 4 members. Okay, so we have the bylaw to approve the terms of reference and appoint those 4 members, myself, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Kennedy, Councillor Steinhoff Gray, all in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Community Improvement Plan, Economic Development. We need a mover and seconder. The council direct staff to submit the draft Municipality of Kincardine Community Improvement Plan to the Ontario Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing for review, and further that a public meeting be held in early 2024 prior to the Community Improvement Plan coming forward to council for adoption. So the intent is to approve this as it's presented, to be sent to the ministry for review. And having received guidance from them, we hold a public meeting prior to its consideration by council for approval and implementation. Moved by Councillors Kavanaugh and Stewart. Discussion, and I'm going to direct comments to Manager Fiozi, Leslie, and our guest Jeff Loney, Economic Development from the County of Bruce. Thank you for being here this evening, sir. Ms. Fiozi, please.
Through you, Mayor Craig, thank you. So we have tonight here, obviously Sherry Leslie, our Economic Development Coordinator, and Jeff Loney, the Manager of Economic Development from the County of Bruce. And they're really going to give you a little bit more details around the CIP, but I just wanted to start by acknowledging the work of both Sherry and Jeff on this on the CIP. Jeff has been instrumental in helping us work through the program and cascade it from the county as well as align with some of the other municipalities. I just wanted to note, as you're listening to some of the information, that the direction of completing the CIP did come from the previous council, but it does really fit well within the integrated strategy, which is what council had talked about when we had our planning sessions back about a year ago now. And the two big components of the CIP are really the expansion of the boundaries, and you'll hear a little bit more about that. So it includes areas like Tiverton and an expanded downtown Kincardine, as well as municipality. And then also the potential programs that council, that you'll see in the package, these are really up to council's discretion to approve annually. So just because you hear all of the programs that you're going to hear about today, please note that it's council's discretion every year, depending upon your priorities of which ones you want to pull forward. So I just want to mention that. So that way, then you can, as you hear, you've got that again in the back of your mind. So I'm going to turn it over to Sherry to give us a little bit more detail, and then Jeff's going to give you details on the program.
Thank you, Lori. I think you covered a lot of kind of what I was going to go over, but just for council's information, a CIP is an economic development tool that allows municipalities to direct funds and implement policies or programs to enhance development and redevelopment in a community. For your information, we have an existing CIP, which I've noted in the report, that was approved in 2008. That allowed the County of Bruce basically to implement their Spruce the Bruce program, which has been a very effective economic development tool in downtown Kincardine for a number of years. The county over the last year has updated their programs to an enhanced Spruce the Bruce program, which now covers a broader area and more industries or sectors than just downtown. So we took that opportunity to do a thorough review, look at what other communities and areas are doing through their CIPs, and drawing on a lot of advice and guidance from Jeff, who's been working with other municipalities in the county in updating our CIP. And maybe with that, I think I'll emphasize a bit too, as noted in the report. Currently, the CIP just covers downtown Kincardine. We're looking at expanding the boundaries of that slightly to align with the municipality of Kincardine official plan and the commercial core areas that are identified in our official plan. We've also added Tiverton, and again, the same boundaries as the commercial core areas in our official plan for the town of Tiverton. And then we have one broader CIP area that would cover the entire municipality. And our hope with this program is really to focus on obviously downtown revitalization, but also opportunities to look at affordable and attainable housing, should the municipality choose to incentivize those in the future. Looking for supports to potentially incentivize some development within our business park and in our highway commercial area. So those are kind of the focus areas that we're looking at. And as Lori mentioned, each year council could identify what those priorities are and what programs we'd like to implement along with the annual budget. So on those programs, I'll pass it over to Jeff for more information.
Thank you, Sherry, and through you, Mayor, to the rest of council. Thank you for having me here tonight. And I get the opportunity to talk a little bit about the programs that are within this CIP and then some of the backgrounds on CIPs across the county and across the province. So at this time, about 380 of the 444 municipalities in Ontario have a community improvement plan. Many of those are not recent or updated. But the communities that are have used this as an opportunity to really look at growth and redevelopment of their communities. Now, across Bruce County, all 8 of our lower tier municipalities do have community improvement plans, and every community at this point is looking at an update and a refresh of their current policies. From a county perspective, we're working with them for a very important reason, that Bruce County itself is not permitted under the Planning Act to have a community improvement plan at this time. Only designated upper tier municipalities are permitted to have one of these. And as such, over the last number of years, our Spruce the Bruce program that many of you will be recognized has been implemented through the policy that you have in place today. So with the expansion of that, there was an opportunity to look at and work with lower tier municipalities across the region to really update and improve policies to better meet the needs of what the modern CIP looks like. One of the ways that we did that was the creation of 3 buckets of incentives or in this program. So the first is our development and pre-development incentives. These are incentives that we can work between the county and yourselves in Kincardine to consider. They're typically targeted at larger scale developments and consider things like building permits, how you manage surplus land in terms of sales, or even tax incentive grants. The second bucket is the building and property improvement incentives. These are the grants that Kincardine itself will be able to access and to utilize if you so choose, if this policy were approved. So things like what you would classically see: building facade incentives, signage programs, properties supporting startups in downtown cores, and streetscape beautification are all included within this program. The last bucket of incentives is very specifically the Bruce County Spruce the Bruce incentives. Something different than previous policy was the separation of these 2 areas to just show that these are the incentives that are driven and run by the county and supporting businesses across Kincardine. So I think I will leave it there. The CIP itself is a relatively large document. These policies are maintained and driven by the regulations in the Planning Act. So there's a lot of words. Believe it or not, we've made this one as concise as we probably can. But happy to answer any questions where we can.
Questions from council? Councillor Stanoff Gray, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I just had a question. I was curious because obviously we have the policy in front of us, but do you keep any metrics or any data on the tangible benefits or like achieved from these programs running? I think it was OSUM that me and Councillor Blackwell attended, and they had some really phenomenal presentations about how other teams, like other municipalities, had really leveraged and harnessed really substantial improvements from the targeted effort. So I just didn't know if we had any data points or formulas where we use for calculation on this, because I was very impressed with what some of the other municipalities were able to achieve. So I would hope we'd be capable of similar, but I was curious how we are tracking it, or if you had any reports you could share with us, because there was some very good stories told there. So that would be my question.
Sure, and through you, Mr. Mayor, we have a number of different data sets associated with the Spruce the Bruce program, and that's what I can speak to. So in 2022, we saw about $86,000 go out the door for 14 local businesses. That leveraged over $500,000 worth of investment by those businesses across the county into things like facade improvements, building code improvements, and the like. We do also track the number of businesses that are receiving this for the first time. Unfortunately, I don't have that in front of me at this very moment. But I can speak to 2023, which has now seen well over $150,000 go out the door. And we're tracking towards that $750,000 in construction value as a result of those programs. And so that's the core statistical data that we look at. I'll also mention that this tool was what was utilized when we were looking at supporting the businesses downtown. This is essentially the only tool in where you can provide funding to private businesses in compliance with both Municipal Act and the Planning Act. So this was the tool that was utilized for something like that.
Councillor Hinchberger, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. There's a lot to like in this document, especially the part that establishes a specific CIP area for Tiverton, because I think the future is very bright for Tiverton. The one question I do have is the maps are in there, the area for Tiverton. You use the term downtown Tiverton. But if I look at the official plan land use, are you talking about specifically the core commercial area in Tiverton, or is it going to expand and include the highway commercial? Because like, I think in practical speaking, there's really not much difference in Tiverton between core commercial and highway commercial, and there might be some expansion in that area in the future. So that's my question.
So in developing that map, I just stuck to the core commercial zone, our designation. But we are having a meeting with the Tiverton businesses on December 5th to further review and explore where, if they have suggestions in revising that boundary.
Just
Open to suggestions on that one.
the follow-up is like, I don't know, having never been part of this process before, how far can you reach before the province would say not look favorably on what you're trying to do?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I can tackle that question. So the good news is how this document is created. The lines around Tiverton, for example, or downtown Kincardine are what we are calling priority areas. So technically under the Planning Act, they're not a CIP designated area because your CIP designated area under this document will be the entire municipality. So adjustments to those priority areas allow you to really make those changes as you see fit. But the priority areas are in place to ensure that your grants contained, or sorry, your incentives contained within this document are scoped appropriately. Something like a facade grant is typically not offered up to, say, a residential home on a concession road. They tend to be targeted to those high traffic areas. And so the adjustment to that priority area, the province itself will not have an issue with that. What they will specifically be looking at is where is your designated CIP area, which under this document would be your entire municipality. And both the Bruce County's official plan and Kincardines official plan support that.
Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you, quite a few of the grants under the building and property improvement bucket seem very, very similar to the ones that are through the Spruce the Bruce. Are those an opportunity for people to potentially stack the grants, or is it that ones that we would offer if they didn't qualify for Spruce the Bruce? I'm just wanting to know a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, we would have to figure out with the county how we'd want to implement, but I'm thinking stacking the grants. Other municipalities in Bruce County, actually, if you here in Kinloss for one, will do a third, a third, a third. So right now, as a municipality, we aren't offering any grant programs. We don't have any budget right now with a CIP. So looking at the municipality also contributing to that to do a third split potentially.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you. And through you, it looks like you want a budget next year of 60,000, and I won't ask you tonight, but you can give us details when that comes up just to save us time. One of the things I did notice, and it's very disappointing, it's just not your group, but when we go out to survey, we're getting very little response, like 52 people, you know, and it's unfortunate. I don't want to get into it tonight, but you know, a lot of surveys are coming back that way. We really need to work on it because we don't get a significant number. The survey, you might as well, you know what happens. I can really support this. I'm looking forward to it. I've read half the plan. I'm hoping to read the other half, but it looks like we have 3 or 4 months, and we might want to down the road have a ad hoc committee, because when these projects start coming in, we're going to figure them out. So good luck, and you have my support moving forward. Thank you.
Councillor Pranger, please.
Thank you, through the chair. I do like the direction where this is going. I really like that we've expanded the CIP area to the whole municipality and made the priority areas. Great approach. a couple clarifications just so I maybe can formulate other questions in the future. I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, is that we focused on Kincardine solely in the last one out of basically like test driving this process and keeping our focus small rather than having a huge scope and not being able to accomplish anything. Is that really where we were at with the first one?
Yeah, as was pretty consistent with most of the communities across the county, they picked the kind of core downtown programs to implement.
So then obviously we're now I'm assuming we're going to take lessons learned and apply it further to Tiverton, which is, I think, wonderful. Tiverton deserves that. Absolutely. Is there any future looking initiatives to maybe look at even smaller communities for this type of program? And might not be something we can do right now, but I mean, we have Underwood, we have Inver Huron, we have parts of Glamis, we have right, that maybe it was an economy of scale issue sort of thing where like a return on investment of spreading ourselves too thin might not have worked, so we haven't focused on them. But would it make sense to try and help those communities as well in the future? Or is it a more of like a capacity problem that we just don't have the staff to be able to address every area in our municipality?
Well, there's that and there's the resources. So if you have limited budget with the program, you really want to have a focused effort so that you have achieving outcomes that you want to achieve. If you try to do it all with not as much budget and staff to do it, it becomes more challenging. But on that note, how the program is set up, there are some programs under the Spruce the Bruce, like the agricultural and tourism ones that could be utilized to assist businesses if they have an agricultural or tourism focus.
Councillor Steinhoff, Gray, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I actually think you answered what I was going to ask, because when you gave the example of like a concession, something I see constantly emphasized is really that agricultural, not just like tourism, but like agricultural business and really embracing that part of our community. And there's some farms like that lead in and out of the village and some other areas. And I'd be curious, especially because they already do some stop by and pick up your eggs, if things like this program would help them get like a proper farm stand up and running. And it actually might solve for some of the grocery store constraints in the village of Tiverton. So selfishly, I'm a little curious about how that program extends, because it's not what I would see as a typical storefront, but it's definitely something that I see as something that the community could get behind.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, happy to give a little bit of detail on the county's Agri-Food Innovation Grant, which is what we refer to that. Essentially, it is a grant targeting agricultural operators and looking at innovations that would include something like farm stands for somebody who didn't have one in place. These are not limited to priority areas, given that most priority areas don't include very many agricultural operators. And in particular, good news, I suppose, is that Kincardine has a pot of about $15,000 that was approved by County Council in 2021, specifically for agri-food innovation, business accessibility, product and experience, and the residential improvement grants that, when approved, would become available to those businesses as approved by County Council.
All right, so we have a motion before us that council direct staff to submit the draft Municipality of Kincardine Community Improvement Plan to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Further, the public meeting be held in early 2024 prior to the plan coming forward to council for adoption. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Ms. Fiozzi, Leslie? Jeff, thank you for being here this evening. You have helped the municipality of Kincardine just leap ahead like a whole bunch. We have no idea what we've just started. It's fabulous. All right, moving along to some planning issues. A deeming bylaw for King Street. Need a mover and seconder that I'm not going to read all the fancy numbers that that here. The council passed a deeming bylaw to deem Plan 94 Lot 13, Plan 94 Lot 12, Plan 94 Lot 11, Plan 94 Lot 10, Lot 9, not to be lots in a registered plan of subdivision. Moved by councillors Steinhoff, Gray, and Stewart. Is there any discussion? All in favor? Yes. It's carried. Holding removal bylaw, Bruce Energy Center. The council passed a bylaw for the removal of holding for the following Bruce Energy lands: 22 Farrell Drive, 50 Farrell Drive, 64 Farrell Drive, 131 Farrell Drive. Moved by councillors Hinchberger and Kavanaugh. To our CBO, can you give us just like a 3-word explanation what has happened to ask these holding provisions to be removed?
Sure, through you, Mayor. The properties up at Farrell Drive and the BEC lands, they're all subject to a holding provision, which requires an archaeological assessment and a planning justification report on any project that goes on those lands. And through discussions with the proprietor up there on marketing the lands, they want to make it as attractive as possible, and to do so, to have that holding provision removed, one condition was having the archaeological assessment done. The assessment was done, however, only of the 13 properties, 12 that were assessed, only 4 of them had basically came back that required no further archaeological assessment. They had to pass a stage 1. The remaining lots that are identified within that report require a stage 2. So we couldn't lift the holding provision off those remaining lands at this time until that stage 2 has been satisfied. And I do believe they'll move forward with that, and this will come back again with hopefully a comprehensive ARC study on the remaining lots so we can lift those. But currently they're satisfied with the 4 that we're lifting today, and they'll look to market those going forward. And again, with all the properties up there with the ECI 2-A zoning, they're all subject to site plan control anyways. So we'll be assessing all the proposed businesses or developments that go up there. They must also align with the zoning provisions to make sure that they meet all the zoning permitted uses.
All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you.
We have a couple of added items. One is the recreation survey. Councillor Kennedy, please.
Yeah, I really like the content of the survey. It's probably one of the better ones I've seen. I believe our goal should be 1,000 people, and I don't think by November 27th that can happen, but I believe we can get there by the end of the year. And I know that's going to put the report back a month, but I'd rather get more input and do it right than rush through this. You know, we did a lot of work leading up to this, and I guess I'm asking council for support to just extend it till the end of the year, please.
Well, I'd like to call on Director Jagielski for a comment on this request. How does that affect timelines, or does it affect the work that the consultants are doing? Is there what sort of outcome might we expect should we support this recommendation?
Thank you for the question, and through you, certainly it's obviously going to delay when we're going to have the consultants in front of us, but we also appreciate that we want a thorough process as well as gathering information. The questionnaire opened a week ago, and I've been told we've got over 300 respondents so far. Obviously, when you do a questionnaire, the flurry of them comes at the beginning. We can certainly extend the date. I have reached out to the consultant, and we can work with that request if that's council's desire.
May I ask what sort of extension you would recommend?
The end of the year is quite prolonged because I honestly don't think we'll get a tremendous amount over the next couple of weeks. We opened it up for 2 weeks. We can add another 2 weeks if that is to the satisfactory of the counselor. But I would struggle keeping it open till the end of the year. And the other reason why I struggle is because I recognize the fact that we're also going through some community engagement for the boardwalk at the same time. And I am cognizant of survey fatigue with the public.
Councillor Stewart, you had your hand up.
No, I just want.
Councillor Stanoff Gray.
Thank you. I'll keep it brief. The only thing I was going to ask is when I hear the word consultant, usually I expect billable hours. And given the fact that our survey turnout hasn't been great historically, like any of the ones I've been seeing haven't had a great response rate, I personally would be uncomfortable extending it if it comes with a cost, because I'm not super optimistic about what I'm going to get. So could you help me understand that? Thank you.
Thank you for the question, and through you, it's my understanding that there won't be any additional costs, but I also do want to share with council that this particular consulting firm that we're working with has gone above and beyond the scope of what we had advertised for at no additional cost. And what I mean by that is they have been very diligent in working with a number of community groups and meeting one-on-one with them, which was certainly not part of the scope, but respective of the fact that many of these groups want to express their concerns, their outcomes, where they see the future going. Obviously, we want to capture all of those thoughts too.
So there is, Councillor Kennedy, please.
Yeah, like I don't have a problem with the 2 weeks. You know, I just think just the 2 weeks isn't long enough. I believe in the next couple of weeks, we can get some more people filling out that survey, but that's my feeling, getting 2 extra weeks. Thank you.
Councillor Kennedy, would you like to make a motion that we extend the survey date for 2 weeks?
Yes, I would, please. Yes.
Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Hinchberger, all in favor? Any opposed? There's the direction for you, Director. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Birchwood Trail, Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you, and through you, I think some updates have been done with a few council members, but it has not been shared with the public, and the public needs to know this has been a long process, as you're well aware. So I would like maybe the Director of Community Service at least to give an update that can go public. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I'd be appreciated. Thank you.
Question through to you, Councillor Stewart. Is this the concise report that can be presented tonight, or would you like something that is more in a report form in 2 weeks to afford some thought time for the Director as well?
I would just like a quick update on the 207 and 209, where it is.
Yeah.
Because I really don't have a clue anymore. Thank you.
Yeah, comfortable with that, Director?
Certainly, and through you, I can give an update where we are. Obviously, as council knows, we've been out without a manager for our capital projects, our parks and facilities since August. So I've been working directly with an engineering firm in assisting us in getting some of these projects to completion. This was certainly one of the projects on the task list, as there are several projects that we'd like to see come to completion. This particular one is still with the engineering firm. I've reached out to them as recently as yesterday, looking for some updates as well, and have expressed the desire to move this one to the top of the list. That's the extent of my update right now.
Well, thank you,
Director.
Thank you.
Yep. Count.
I can do that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Are there any, there were no notices of motion prior to the meeting. Any notices of motion for this evening at this point? Motions. Acting Clerk, need a mover and seconder that the Chief Administrative Officer, Jolene Belchamber Glazier, be appointed acting clerk when it's necessary for the clerk to leave the meeting for the purpose of taking minutes for the November 22, 2023 closed and open meetings, moved by Councillors Blackwell and Deputy Mayor Clark. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Appoint Integrity Commissioner bylaw, mover and seconder that the Integrity Commissioner appointment, principals integrity bylaw be deemed to be read first, second, third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023-189, moved by councillors Stewart and Steinoff Gray. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. A motion to pass bylaws. We need a mover and seconder that the following bylaws are hereby read first, second, third time, finally passed. The Strategic Plan Ad Hoc Committee, Council Committee appointments, the deeming bylaw for those 5 lots in Tiverton, and an amendment to the zoning bylaw, which is removing the holding designation at the Bruce Energy Center, moved by councillors Stewart and Hinchberger. All in favor? That's carried. So we have the consent agenda. So there's a number of items listed here that we will pass by resolution unless there are any that any council member would like withdrawn for either comment this evening or further staff report. So we need a mover and seconder. The council approve the recommendations contained in the consent agenda and direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions except for items mover and seconder Stewart and Hinchberger. Councillor Steinoff Gray, please. Do you have one that you would like withdrawn for consideration?
Yes, please. I actually, just for staff to review, it would be the City of Owen Sound. Just when we're talking about the paper medium, it is interesting because not a lot of people do go to the papers. So when you have to do public notice, I do think that we should be looking at how we fit into that. I think it's applicable. And then the only other one, which
I'm sorry, which item was that, Councillor, please?
Sorry. It would be Echo Alpha, City of Owen Sound, call for an amendment to the Legislation Act 2006.
Thank you. Was there another one?
Yes, the only other one that I wanted, sorry, I had the item itself open. I'm just scrolling down to it, is the municipality of Wawa, which would be Echo Delta, or municipality of Wawa automated enforcement system. I'm just curious if that's something that we could approach. So I just refer that back to staff as well for consideration.
First one.
CAO, yes, go ahead.
So with respect to that notice from the City of Ottawa, if or Owen Sound, sorry. Oh, I looked at it was originally a resolution put forward by another township, McKellar. So there's a resolution supporting that resolution. So council could certainly call on the provincial government to further support that. And if you want that in a future agenda, we can do so, or now.
Okay, future agenda. And the more direct question was about the automated bylaw enforcement. Is that an item that we could receive? If you could converse with staff, just to like, what are you asking for? Not for tonight, just have a conversation another day and say,
No problem.
bring back
I'll send an email. Thank you.
just to confirm so we get the information that you're looking for. That's all. Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you, through you. I'm just looking at number 9.1 DB, the Ministry of Transportation letter about the concerns on the highway between Bruce Avenue and North Line. I'm not interested in pulling it. I'm just wanting kind of the public to be aware that they've come back and said that they're looking at reviewing it by fall 2024. So.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Stewart, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I have a couple of them. From comments only, 9.1 BA Development Services October 2023 monthly report. That would be you. Congratulations. It's the first month that we have value over 22, so it's trending very well. So I hope that continues on November and December. The other one I want to comment on is D, same sort of category, Kincardine bylaw service reports, August to September. I really like the statistics, but what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing out in the community is that timing and sometimes the results aren't really what the community was expecting. And, you know, this report only talks about statistics. I'm just wondering if we can have a staff member that if there is a concern or a problem with timing or results, who would that person be for the community to contact? Thank you.
So it is legislative services that bylaw enforcement is governed through. But we contract out the service, and this year it was reduced to one individual. I know that legislative services can speak a little bit to how that plays out over the year in terms of where that single bylaw officer is for the 40 hours a week. So if you don't mind, I'd turn that over to the clerk.
So I think we can see from, pardon me, through you. I think we can see through the reports, you can see where their hours are being used. They're about, they have 40 hours a week. And those 40 hours a week are spent 7 days a week, depending on the need, where they are going. And it is everything from canine questions to clean and clear yards, property standards. And so what I would say is if someone has concerns about what they have, if they are not hearing back from bylaw or something like that, then they should definitely call my office and speak to myself. And we will, we can answer those questions. But the one thing that I will say in the process, when you call and provide a complaint to bylaw, they will call you potentially to follow up to find out what the complaint is, but you will not receive updates on actually what is happening. So they will not be receiving updates because that is someone else's personal information. And so you wouldn't be receiving updates on exactly what is being done.
Councillor Prenger, please.
Thank you. I'm looking at 9.1 Echo Foxtrot, which is Municipality of Wawa, Support of Bill C-310. I don't recall, maybe it's because I'm tired and my memory's going, us having to have sent any sort of support for C-310. So I'd like to pull that for a future meeting to do similar to what Councillor Steinhoff did for her first one, where we provided a letter of support of this to this as well. Did that make sense? Did you understand?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just direct staff to present a letter of support with the original motion.
Much more
Absolutely.
succinctly put. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so we have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda minus the items that have been pulled for consideration. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, member of council general announcements. Deputy Mayor, how are you tonight, Deputy Mayor? Wise and
Thank you.
pensive.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. My only announcement is that it is the Ladies Downtown BIA's Ladies Night tomorrow evening. Just a reminder to, as we come into the Christmas season, that it's so important, particularly this year, that we shop local and try and support our economy.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Thank you very much. My community announcement for the night is at the Bruce Steakhouse, partnering with the Lighthouse Blues Festival. They're hosting a fundraiser for the Lions Club All Wheels Park on November 25th. That's a Saturday. The event kicks off with live music at 7 p.m. and there's an auction at 8 p.m. So I hope everyone comes out.
Councillor Kennedy, anything going on in Ocala this weekend?
Couple horse shows, but that's about it. So I'm good. Thanks.
Councillor Blackwell.
Thank you. I have two. The first is that November is Women Abuse Prevention Month, and December 6th is National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women in Canada. So intimate partner violence in general has gone up every year since 2019, and every 6 days in Canada, a woman is killed by a partner. 44% of Canadian women report some form of intimate partner violence in their lifetime. 72 municipalities, including ours, thanks to a motion brought forward by Councillor Prenger, have called on the province to declare intimate partner violence an epidemic. And so to support organizations like Women's Housing in Bruce and Gray. But on a happier note, Community Living is hosting a free community holiday celebration at the Davidson Center this week. We are sponsoring the Kinder Gym in the morning at 10:30 and a public skate in the afternoon. And we have a special guest from the North Pole coming to help us decorate some cookies. And there's also going to be an all-ability swim from 12:30 till 1:30 that is more inclusive for folks with disabilities. So I'm really excited about that as well.
Did you just say that Elf is coming?
No, I said a special guest from the North Pole. It's Mrs. Claus.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mrs. Claus, okay. Councillor Stewart, please.
Passing, thank you.
Councillor Prenger.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted everyone to know that the Kincardine Refugee Committee is doing a bottle drive to raise money for the refugee families that they've helped settle in our town. The drive, they'll be collecting on the dates of December 15th to the 22nd, as well as December 27th to January 2nd. And it will be a trailer out at the end of the driveway at 417 McCullough Crescent. That is not where I live. Thank you. I know who lives there, but is that no, it's not. The information is on their Facebook page, as well as it's through the committee is through the Knox Church. So if you need information, you can go to both those places and get that as well. Thanks.
Councillor Hinchberger.
I have nothing to add tonight, Your Honor.
All right, so the Chamber of Commerce is hosting the Kincardine Santa Claus Parade, Saturday, December 2nd. Starts at 4 o'clock. Grinch. Where is it starting from, Manager?
We'll be starting at Connaught Park at 4 o'clock, but we'll be staging around 3:30. And the theme this year is Lake Huron, our float. So.
And also, as commented earlier on from our Economic Development Manager, Tuesday, December 5, the Tiverton business community is invited to a sort of a visioning session at the King's Pearl, 8 a.m. Sounds like a great morning of discussion and, just focusing some attention on that Tiverton core and wondering and dreaming a little bit about not just where they are, but where they can be. So CAO, do you have any announcements upcoming?
No.
All right, I need a mover and seconder of the council move into closed session pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act as amended for the purpose of considering the minutes dated November 8, a proposed or pending acquisition of land by the municipality or local board, acquisition of land in Tiverton, labor relations and employee negotiations, organizational review, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees or potential appointees to a local board, ad hoc committee, or other municipally controlled organization, human resources matter. And further, the council returned to regular open meeting upon completion, moved by councillors Prenger and Kavanaugh. All in favor? All right, we're moving into close. We have 5-minute bio